Coming up, we travel into the world of tomorrow at the Magic Kingdom. Disney presents Beyond the Kingdoms. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's main show of Beyond the Kingdoms. Like always, I'm your host David, and today I'm continuing the Exploring Magic Kingdom series with a look at Tomorrowland. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that you never miss an episode. But let's travel into the future and take a look at a city on the move. Tomorrowland, ironically, is the one area of Magic Kingdom that has seen the most history. When it first opened with the park in 1971, there was hardly anything in this barren corner of the park. In fact, the Speedway was the only opening attraction in Tomorrowland in 1971. Every other attraction currently in Tomorrowland has also seen its share of changes over the years. Many attractions today are not just replacements of older attractions, but sometimes the third incarnation of a completely different idea. Tomorrowland is certainly a land always on the move and ever-changing. All in all, this land of the Magic Kingdom is currently home to 2 entertainment offerings, 4 dining locations, 4 stores, and a total of 5 attractions, some of which are some of the most iconic in Disney history. This is Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is perhaps the most complicated land at the Magic Kingdom. It is the one land in the park that has seen the most change over the years. In fact, Tomorrowland has always been challenged with the fact that keeping up with the latest vision of tomorrow is very difficult. In terms of architecture, when Tomorrowland opened in 1971 in Florida, it was somewhat inspired by the 1960s version of Tomorrowland in California, strongly rooted in sleek lines inspired by classic mid-century design. But Florida's Tomorrowland had a little bit of a colder and more 70s vibe to it, especially with the 2 looming white and blue towers on the bridge into the land itself. By the end of 1971, the 2 show buildings towards the entrance of Tomorrowland would feature Flight to the Moon and the Circle Vision 360 Theater showing America the Beautiful. It wouldn't be until 1975 that Tomorrowland became a fully fleshed out land with the opening of Space Mountain and the Carousel of Progress. And for nearly 2 decades, Tomorrowland remained in this somewhat mid-century vision of the future. But as science and technology caught up with the land, it began to look dated, and Tomorrowland went under a major overhaul in 1993 and 1994, stepping away from the 60s and into a more fantasy-based vision of the future. It was somewhat inspired by some of Jules Verne's novels, but not as impressive as Discoveryland in Paris. This second life of Tomorrowland featured iconic attractions such as the extraterrestrial alien encounter and the Timekeeper. And now that it's been another 2 decades since this incarnation of Tomorrowland, this corner of Magic Kingdom is once again expected to undergo another overhaul. Many of the aspects I discussed today will probably one day be gone. But in honor of this series, I'm still going to explore with you today the history and practical side of Tomorrowland. Now, each land of the Magic Kingdom features at least one attraction inspired by a classic piece of literature. Adventureland has an attraction based on the Swiss Family Robinson story, and the quiet and secluded island in the middle of Rivers of America is a callback to Mark Twain's Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. But Tomorrowland has been inspired over the years by several novels, all of which written by Jules Verne. Many historians and Disney fans have made comparisons to the 19th century novelist to Walt, and it's no surprise why. Both men, at their cores, are storytellers. and both men used their fascination with science and technology as a way to imagine new and exciting stories to tell to the common man. The most recognizable Jules Verne story seen in the world of Disney is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which Walt adapted into a live-action film in 1954 starring Kirk Douglas. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea would one day famously inspire an attraction sandwiched in between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland in California, and later here at Magic Kingdom in the back of Fantasyland. But the story I want to highlight today is Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon. The 1865 novel was a fictional story about the Baltimore Gun Club and their attempt to build a giant cannon to catapult man to the surface of the moon. This story, along with the scientific breakthroughs of the mid-20th century, inspired Walt and his Imagineers to create various attractions based on space travel. Flight to the Moon was a classic Tomorrowland show that placed guests in a circular theater that was said to be inside a rocket ship, blasting off into space. Once on board, a simple trick of moving the seats up and down was meant to give the illusion of weightlessness. It was a far cry from future attractions like Mission Space at Epcot, but it was one of the first Tomorrowland attractions in Florida to really encompass Walt's vision of the future, where a family vacation to the moon was an everyday occurrence. And to keep up with NASA's breakthroughs in space travel, the attraction was later repurposed and became Mission to Mars. Many illustrations seen in Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon would later be featured in the classic Epcot attraction Horizons. But another ride that was heavily inspired by the fantastical side of Jules Verne's story was Space Mountain. Not really the one seen here in Florida, but the version over in Discoveryland in Disneyland Paris. Many Imagineers have left their mark here in Walt Disney World, and Tomorrowland features some of the works of Disney legends such as Bob Gurr, who designed nearly every ride vehicle in Disneyland. He's responsible for iconic vehicles like the Disneyland monorail, the cars seen in Autopia, and the original People Mover. But another pair of legends who have a lasting legacy right here in Florida are the Sherman Brothers. Technically, they may not be considered Imagineers, but they have certainly made significant contributions to Disney attractions, such as the Carousel of Progress. The brothers wrote the attraction's theme song, There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, while it was being developed for the New York World's Fair. There is perhaps no other song that sums up Walt's optimistic look into the future. Richard and Robert Sherman began their careers at Disney when their music publishing company teamed up with Wonderland Music Company, a Disney affiliate company. They next wrote the song Tall Paul, originally sung by Judy Harriet and later covered by Mouseketeer Annette Funicello. This is what really caught Walt's attention, and the brothers went on to write songs for films like The Absent-Minded Professor, The Parent Trap, and of course, the beloved Mary Poppins, which is when the brothers won their first and only pair of Academy Awards. Another famous Disney attraction song they wrote also premiered at the New York World's Fair, It's a Small World, which is now hailed as the most publicly performed song in the world. The next time you visit Carousel of Progress, watch the short film seen in the loading area outside the show building. You'll catch a short glimpse of the same footage shown on television and to executives of General Electric about the creation and development of the iconic Carousel of Progress. And speaking of this classic show, let's now focus on the entertainment offered here in Tomorrowland. My favorite animatronic show to see at Magic Kingdom is certainly this one. This is the only place in the world right now where you can watch this legendary show about a small family showcasing the wonders of new technology created over different time periods in the 20th century. The original show at the General Electric Pavilion moved to Disneyland in 1967 as part of the new Tomorrowland overhaul. The show ran there until 1973. The only major difference with California's version to the original was that the post-show on the second floor of the building featured a look at the Progress City model, which was the basis of Walt's original Epcot concept. The model later moved along with the show to Florida. It can now be seen very briefly on another Tomorrowland icon, the People Mover. Florida's incarnation of Carousel of Progress opened on January 15, 1975, alongside Space Mountain. It featured a new song instead of Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow called The Best Time of Your Life, also written by the Sherman Brothers. The final scene of the show was updated to take place on New Year's Eve in the 1970s, and the entire script was rewritten and recorded by a new set of actors. Later, in 1981, the script and smaller details of the final scene were updated once again and placed on New Year's Eve in the 1980s. And in 1993, the Carousel of Progress received its biggest refresh to date. First, we got the return of the original Sherman Brothers song. A whole new set of actors again voiced the different characters, and the first 3 acts of the show were firmly set in different holidays throughout the year: Valentine's Day, 4th of July, and Halloween. The final scene once again got a big makeover, set in the early 2000s and featuring state-of-the-art technology that is now not so futuristic. It's a must-see for any hardcore Disney history buff and a great break from the Florida sun. Switching gears completely, the next piece of entertainment that can be enjoyed in Tomorrowland is the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. Ever since Mike and Sully discovered that laughter is more powerful than screams, the creatures of Monstropolis have opened a special portal to the monster world for humans to come in. Inside the Laugh Factory, Mike Wazowski and his friends give different comedy routines for humans to enjoy. FastPass Plus reservations are available here, but it's completely not worth it since the show usually has a very small wait time. And if you're a fan of Monsters, Inc., make sure you stop by Hollywood Studios to meet Mike and Sully at the Walt Disney Presents exhibit. Now, characters are a little scarce in Tomorrowland. Currently, there are only 2 meet and greets guests can enjoy. In the pre-show area for what used to be Stitch's Great Escape, guests can currently meet Stitch. A couple of years ago, the attraction was downgraded to seasonal operation only. Stitch's future at Magic Kingdom is a little bit unclear, so if you're a fan of the alien, check him out sooner than later. He usually meets guests intermittently between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. And next, we have Buzz Lightyear. The Space Ranger meets his fans nearby the exit to Space Ranger Spin. This is one of 2 locations in Disney World where you can meet Buzz. He also makes appearances over in Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios. Both locations have moderate wait times, however the Buzz meet in Magic Kingdom has better shade, since it's underneath the track to the People Mover. Like Stitch, Buzz meets guests at various times throughout the day between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Another scarce offering in Tomorrowland is shopping and dining. Believe it or not, Tomorrowland is the only land in the Magic Kingdom to not offer a table service restaurant. However, it does feature one of the largest quick service restaurants in Magic Kingdom. Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe is a huge dining hall that features run-of-the-mill theme park food from hamburgers to hot dogs. But there are a few fun food items here, like the Galaxy-loaded fries. You can find out more about this and other specialty snacks in my favorite Tomorrowland snacks video. But 2 other food locations not mentioned in my video provides guests with some good desserts and beverages. Auntie Gravity's Galactic Goodies is located in between the land's 2 major shops. Its main highlight is that it serves a great lineup of milkshakes. I'm a pretty boring guy and like traditional vanilla milkshakes, but they've also got strawberry smoothies here and soft serve ice cream. And during the Halloween and Christmas party, make sure you keep your eyes open here for their specialty shakes. Some are ridiculously packed full of sugar and crazy ingredients, but I guess if you're looking for something intensely sweet, these are for you. Finally, I want to briefly mention the Revive Joffrey's coffee stand. If you're not a fan of Starbucks, Joffrey's is a good alternative while visiting Disney World. And the stand featured here in Tomorrowland is a great throwback to a 1960s vision of the future. Every park in Disney World has at least one Joffrey stand, and they definitely don't have the same long lines as Starbucks. So, if you're in the mood for a caffeine fix and fast, definitely hit up one of these stops. Next, let's move into shopping. Tomorrowland is home to 4 shops. 2 of them are very small, one being a traditional Disney post-ride shop at Buzz Lightyear, and the second called Merchant of Venus, which is near the old exit to Stitch's Great Escape. This one sells a variety of Pixar-themed toys and merchandise, while the Buzz shop sells a collection of Toy Story items, obviously. But the remaining 2 stores in Tomorrowland are pretty good alternatives to the big Emporium on Main Street. One of my favorites is Mickey's Star Traders. This is located across the Speedway and next to Cosmic Rays. It tends to sell whatever the current trendy product is at Disney World, which currently is a collection of Disney snack-themed merchandise. But they also have a fun collection of t-shirts, not just themed to Tomorrowland, but also to nearby Fantasyland. Mickey's Star Traders is definitely worth a stop for something fun, and it's a good mix of different items. Then at the exit of Space Mountain is the Tomorrowland Light and Power Company. This store naturally sells space-themed merchandise, ranging from Star Wars to even toy space rockets. And at the very back of the store is where you can get some D-Tech products, like personalized magic bands and phone cases. But the best $2 that you'll spend at Disney World is at one of the massage chairs inside this store. For every $2, you can get a quick 5-minute massage. It's a great way to pass the time if you're waiting for someone to get off Space Mountain. Which leads me to my final section of today's episode, attractions. Tomorrowland is home to a wonderful collection of fun rides that everyone in the family can enjoy. And one of my favorites is Astro Orbiter. This is a simple spinner attraction like Dumbo and the Magic Carpets, but Astro Orbiter sits at the top of Rocket Tower Plaza at 60 feet high, offering the best views of Magic Kingdom, if you don't get too dizzy. I personally love to ride this at night, and back when Wishes was still performing, I would try and time my ride to line up with the fireworks. It's a spectacular way to end your day at Magic Kingdom. Despite this being a simple attraction, which has been in operation since 1956 in Disneyland, it is still very popular. Perhaps the most popular spinner ride in all of Magic Kingdom. The ride does not offer FastPass Plus reservations, and it's pretty typical to have to wait between 20 and 40 minutes here. Just underneath Astro Orbiter is another Disney classic, the Tomorrowland People Mover. Like attractions such as the Liberty Square Riverboat and the Swiss Family Treehouse, this is the perfect getaway from the crowds at Magic Kingdom. This tour around Tomorrowland offers good views of the entire land, and it's a relaxing 10-minute ride that everyone can enjoy. Like I said earlier, towards the beginning of the ride, you'll catch a quick glimpse of the original Progress City model, along with an inside view of several shops, Space Ranger Spin, and of course Space Mountain. These days, the People Mover line can get pretty big, but don't be discouraged because even if it looks long, you'll almost always only have to wait about 10 minutes to get on. And like Astro Orbiter, this ride does not offer FastPass Plus. Now, another way to travel around Tomorrowland is the Speedway. This is the only opening day attraction still in operation in this land. Today, it may not resemble anything from the future. But back when Autopia first opened in California, the concept of the American freeway was still very new in the 1950s, hence its location in Tomorrowland. Here in Florida, the Speedway was originally inspired by the classic Indy Speedway. And despite the smell of motor oil and gasoline, the Speedway remains a rite of passage for many kids. Now here are some operational details. The track of the Speedway has been trimmed several times over the years. It is currently closed to accommodate construction of the upcoming Tron Coaster, and it's unclear if the track will be reduced yet again. But it is currently scheduled to reopen this summer, sometime in the middle of May. And when it does, you may want to consider a fast pass here, depending on your other choices for the day, because the wait can get pretty long here. But it does make as a good fourth fast pass choice on the day. Little ones hoping to ride, remember that you must be at least 32 inches tall to drive one of the cars, and you must be accompanied by an adult. Once kids reach 54 inches, they can drive a car all by themselves. And make sure you pick up your driver's license at the exit of the attraction. After you've done a spin on the racetrack, head on over to Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin to strap in and help Buzz defeat the evil Emperor Zurg. This Omnimover shooter attraction debuted at the Magic Kingdom over 20 years ago, if you can believe that. And it's somewhat inspired by the opening credits to the second Toy Story film. It replaced the long-standing Take Flight attraction, which was previously the If You Had Wings attraction, which was an Epcot-style Omnimover ride about air travel and sponsored by Eastern Airlines. While Space Ranger Spin is still a slow-moving Omnimover attraction like the Haunted Mansion, it was one of the first interactive rides at Disney World. If you're hoping to score big here are some game tips. Okay, there are 3 main targets that are worth anything between 50,000 and 200,000 points each. Hit these 3 targets a few times and you'll definitely max out on your points. The first target is an early scene with a giant orange robot. Shoot the inside of his left hand for some big points. In the next room, there are lots of different targets and things going on here, but focus on the top of the volcano spewing out green lava. This one is worth 100,000 points every time you hit it. And finally, shortly after the lava scene, keep your eyes peeled for Zurg in a big spider-like orange spaceship. It should be on your right hand side. And make sure you aim for the target at the bottom of the spaceship. It's worth 200,000 points. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin is still a very popular attraction and worth considering a fast pass for. I do find it pretty easy to get a 4th fast pass for this attraction, even on a busy day, or I tend to ride it towards the end of the night when the crowds die down. There is no height restriction here, so everyone can enjoy. And finally, we have the big daddy of Tomorrowland, Space Mountain. This indoor roller coaster is a Disney icon, and the Florida one is extra special because it was the first Space Mountain in the world. Just like Country Bear Jamboree, this is a Florida original. Walt first had an idea for a space travel thrill ride all the way back in the early 1960s. After the successful opening of Disney's first coaster, the Matterhorn in Disneyland. This proved to Walt that there was a way to have a standard thrill ride like a roller coaster wrapped around a simple story that worked alongside other elaborate Disney attractions. But since the technology in the early 1960s was not yet developed enough, it was shelved, and it was revisited after the opening of Walt Disney World in the 1970s. When Space Mountain opened in 1975, it became the first roller coaster completely run by computers. Surprisingly, the attraction has stayed relatively the same over the course of 4 decades. The queue is one of my favorites in that it resembles the curve you may see in a space station in outer space. The next time you're in line, look for these signs at the start of the queue. They pay tribute to other space mountains around the world and now closed attractions in Disney World. Florida's Space Mountain is the only one in the world where guests sit single file and travel through the vastness of space almost completely on their own. The front seat will really give you an extra thrill. And very recently, Disney unveiled a new exit queue that is a big departure of the 1994 Tomorrowland and another callback to Tomorrowland of Disneyland in the 1960s. Space Mountain is a high-speed thrill ride in outer space, and back when it first opened, even astronauts said it was the closest thing everyday humans could get to actual space travel. In reality, this is a giant smoke and mirrors attraction. Space Mountain is actually not too much faster than the Barnstormer, reaching speeds of only 28 miles per hour. There are much more thrilling and faster attractions at Disney, such as Rock and Roller Coaster and Expedition Everest. But space is dear to the hearts of many Disney fans. It was the original thrill ride of Walt Disney World and remains one of the most popular attractions in Magic Kingdom. Definitely one to do only with a FastPass Plus reservation. And with that, my friends, we are at the end of today's tour of Tomorrowland. But the story of this land does not end here. In just a couple of years, we will soon see the opening of the Tron Coaster here at Magic Kingdom, which opened in Shanghai Disneyland in 2016. The new coaster may be part of a much larger overhaul long overdue at Tomorrowland here in Florida. And maybe one day soon, we might also find out what will take over the previous Stitch's Great Escape attraction. And that will certainly have to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.